was supposed to give this to her, but she destroyed everything herself. Cheating witch.
That one evening each week when we'd both clear our schedules to cook together, sit across from each other at our small dining table, and pretend we were still those people who'd fallen hard for each other 4 years ago. I remember it was a Tuesday because Tuesdays mattered to us, or at least they used to. The kitchen smelled incredible, garlic and rosemary filling the apartment. I'd spent over an hour getting that chicken perfect, making sure the skin was crispy exactly how she liked it, the way her mom used to make it before she passed. I'd set the table with cloth napkins that I'd actually ironed that morning before heading to work, lit candles because she'd once mentioned that candlelight made everything feel like a scene from a movie. I wanted it to be special. She walked in at 7:30, phone pressed against her ear, laughing at something the person on the other end said. Those designer heels I'd bought her for her promotion 6 months back clicked across the hardwood floor. She barely looked at the table as she walked past it, still talking, still laughing, disappearing into the bedroom. Her voice carried through the apartment, and I caught fragments of her conversation. I know, right? That's exactly what I said. He's sweet, but... That word hung in the air. But. Such a small word carrying so much weight. I carefully set down the serving spoon, noticing that my hands were completely steady. I'd expected them to shake, expected some physical betrayal of the tightness spreading through my chest, the way my throat seemed to be closing around words that I didn't know how to form. But my hands remained calm, like they'd already accepted something my brain hadn't caught up to yet. She came back about 10 minutes later, phone finally silent and tucked into her back pocket. She flashed me that smile, the one she used when she was about to ask for something, or when she was trying to smooth over some rough patch she'd created. Sorry about that. Jessica was having a total meltdown. You know how she gets. I nodded, poured her wine like I always did, served her plate first like I always did. She took a bite, made an appreciative sound. This is really good. You've totally perfected it. You should cook more often. You're way better at it than I am. I smiled, but it felt artificial, like wearing a mask. You've been busy, though. God, you have no idea. Work has been absolutely insane, and planning this birthday thing is completely taking over my life. Jessica and the other girls have opinions about literally everything. The venue, the theme, the guest list. It's exhausting. Her birthday was 3 weeks away. I'd been quietly planning a surprise for months now. A trip to the coast, that boutique hotel she'd bookmarked on Instagram months ago. Dinner reservations at the restaurant where we'd had our first date. I'd bought the ring 2 months back, platinum with a single diamond, simple and elegant, exactly like the one she'd pointed out in a jewelry store window last spring, when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I'm sure it'll be perfect, I said. It has to be. Everyone's going to be there. My whole friend group, people from work. It's going to be a whole production. She leaned forward, her expression shifting. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. My stomach dropped. It wasn't what she said, but how she said it. That careful, neutral tone people use when they're about to deliver bad news and want you to think it's for your own good. Okay, I said. She took a long sip of wine, set the glass down, and looked at me directly. So the girls have been asking about you, about us, and I've been thinking about how to say this without sounding awful, but I'm just going to say it. She exhaled slowly. They think you're not impressive enough for me. They don't think you're ambitious enough. Don't think you have enough presence. They think I should aim higher, that I could do better. The words dropped between us like stones into still water. Heavy, final, spreading outward in ripples. I couldn't speak at first. My brain was trying to process what I just heard, trying to arrange the words into something coherent. But they kept sliding apart. I mean, they love you, she continued quickly as if that somehow made it better. They think you're sweet and kind and stable, but they just think I could do better, that I should aim for someone more successful, someone who makes an impression when they walk into a room. Aim higher, I repeated. The words tasted wrong. You know what I mean. Someone more ambitious, someone with more drive, someone who's going places. She paused. And honestly, I think they might have a point. I looked at her across that table, this woman I'd loved for 4 years. This woman I'd built a life with, this woman whose opinion I'd valued above almost everyone else's. And I realized I was looking at a stranger, someone who could sit there in candlelight, eating a meal I'd spent an hour preparing, and tell me I wasn't good enough while her friends' voices echoed in her head. And what do you think? I asked. My voice came out too calm, the kind of calm that happens right before a storm. She hesitated, and in that I heard everything. I think they might be right. I think I need to explore what else is out there. See if there's someone who's more aligned with where I'm going in life. I see, I said quietly. Don't be like that. Her voice took on an edge, defensive now. I'm just being honest. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Be honest with each other? You're absolutely right, I said. Honesty is important. So let me be honest. Go ahead and aim higher. Explore. Find someone more impressive. I won't stand in your way. She blinked, confused. Are you breaking up with me? I almost laughed. No, you're breaking up with me. I'm just agreeing with you. That's not what I said. I just think we need to talk about where we're going. We just did. I stood up, started clearing the plates. She sat there, wine glass half full, her expression caught somewhere between confusion and offense. I think we're done talking. You're being dramatic. Am I? I turned to look at her, really look at her. I tried to find the woman I'd fallen in love with and the woman sitting at my table, wearing my gift, telling me I wasn't good enough. I couldn't find her. Maybe she'd never existed. Maybe I'd been in love with a fiction all along. I know what you think. Your friends made it clear and you agreed. So let's not drag this out. She stood up too, her chair scraping against the floor. Fine. Maybe I will find someone better. Good luck, I said, and I meant it. In the way you wish someone luck when you know they're about to learn something the hard way. She grabbed her purse, her phone, her keys. She hesitated at the door like she was waiting for me to stop her, to call her back, to apologize for not being impressive enough. When I didn't, she left. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. I stood in the kitchen for a long time after she was gone, staring at the candles burning down, the wine glasses, the dinner I'd made. Then I walked to my office, opened my laptop, and started making phone calls. The Coastal Hotel canceled, full refund. The restaurant reservation canceled. The surprise helicopter tour I'd booked, canceled. But the birthday venue, the one she thought she'd been planning with her friends, the one I'd actually put a deposit on 2 months ago because she'd mentioned it casually and I'd wanted to surprise her, I kept that reservation. Made some changes, though, added a few names to the guest list, made notes about timing. Then I opened my desk drawer, pulled out the ring box, and set it on top of a thick file folder I'd been keeping for the last 6 months. That folder was full of documentation, proof, numbers that told a story she didn't know that I'd been writing. Here's what she didn't know, what she'd never bothered to ask about. 2 years ago, my best friend Marcus and I had started a software company. Just the two of us at first, working nights and weekends, building a data analytics platform we thought might be useful to mid-sized businesses. We'd bootstrapped everything, kept our day jobs, treated it like a side project that might amount to something or might fizzle out like most startups do. Then, 6 months ago, everything changed. A Fortune 500 company reached out. They wanted to license our software, integrate it into their entire operation. Talk about potential acquisition. The numbers they mentioned made my head spin. We'd taken the licensing deal, kept the company independent, and suddenly our side project was generating revenue in the 7 figures. I'd wanted to tell her, had actually planned to tell her as part of the birthday surprise. Imagined her face when I explained that the middle management job was just cover, that I'd been building something real this whole time, that the modest lifestyle we led was a choice, not a limitation. I'd planned to propose with the ring and the truth together. But that conversation required trust. It required believing that the person you were revealing yourself to would meet that vulnerability with grace. And somewhere along the way, without me quite noticing when it happened, I'd stopped trusting her with the parts of me that mattered most. The next morning, I woke up to silence. Not the comfortable silence of shared space, but something emptier. The apartment felt larger, like the walls had expanded overnight. I got out of bed, made coffee, opened my laptop. There was work to do. Practical work, administrative work, the kind of methodical steps that add up to a complete separation. I started with the apartment. It was in my name, had been since before we met. She'd moved in 2 years ago, but the lease was mine. I called the landlord, asked about early termination. He was surprised, but didn't ask questions. Said he'd start showing the place next week. Next came utilities, subscriptions, all the streaming services she'd added to my accounts. Transferred or canceled, one by one. My phone buzzed. A text from her. Can we talk? I stared at it, Imagine the conversation. Her wanting to explain, to contextualize, expecting me to be there waiting, ready to be convinced that I was enough after all. I deleted the message and blocked the number. Then I called my lawyer. Mark Chen had been my attorney for 3 years since Marcus and I started the company. He was expensive, precise, and discreet. His office was downtown in one of those glass towers with marble floors. I'd always met him after work hours, never when she might ask where I was going. I need to separate my assets, I told him. Move things into different accounts. Make sure everything's protected. Relationship ended? He asked. Yes. Was she aware of the company? No. He nodded slowly. Then this should be straightforward. We spent the next hour going through details, account numbers, property, investments I'd made that had appreciated significantly. Mark took notes, asked clarifying questions, never suggested I was being paranoid or petty. One more thing, I said as we wrapped up. There's a birthday party in 2 weeks. I put a deposit on the venue. I want to keep it, but I need to make some adjustments. What kind of adjustments? I told him. His expression didn't change, but I saw the slight curl of his lips. That's elegant, he said. Possibly therapeutic. Definitely effective. Over the next 2 weeks, she tried calling from different numbers. I never answered. She showed up at the apartment once, but I'd already moved most of my things out. She stood in the hallway looking at the half-empty living room. You're really doing this? Over one conversation? It wasn't a conversation, it was a revelation, I said and closed the door. The night before her birthday party, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my new apartment downtown, the high-rise with floor-to-ceiling windows and city views, thinking about what tomorrow would bring. My phone buzzed at 3:47 in the morning. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. On the third call, I answered. Please pick up, please. It was Jessica, crying. Something happened at the party setup. It's about you. You need to know before tomorrow. I'm listening. The venue. We're here for the final walkthrough, and they showed us the seating chart, the guest list. Your name was on it. Not as her +1, as the host. The venue manager kept thanking you, kept saying how generous it was. And then she showed us the invoice. Jessica's voice broke. Everything. The deposit you put down 3 months ago, the premium package, the bar, the catering, the DJ. It's all in your name. You paid for everything. I did. But she told us she was funding this herself, that she'd been saving, that it was her party, her money. She let us think you weren't even invited. I wasn't, I said. She uninvited me 2 weeks ago, when she decided I wasn't impressive enough. The sound Jessica made was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Oh God, that conversation at dinner. We were talking about relationships and we said those things. I didn't think she'd actually take it seriously. She took it seriously. She agreed with you, used it as a reason to end a 4-year relationship. I'm so sorry. We were wrong. We were so wrong. And now the venue manager is asking if you're still planning to attend, and I don't know what to tell anyone. I stood up, walked to the window. 43 floors below, the city was starting to wake up. Tell her I'll be there, I said. And Jessica, tell the others too. Tell all of her friends who think they know who I am. Tell them to pay attention tomorrow. The morning of her birthday arrived clear and cold. I stood in front of my closet considering what you wear to the end of something. I chose my Armani suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored. The kind of suit that announces you belong in rooms where important decisions get made. White shirt, tie the color of smoke. Shoes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the man looking back. Not because I looked different, but because I felt different. Like I'd been living as a ghost and had only now remembered I had substance. Marcus texted me. You sure about this? Yes. Want backup? I'm good, but thanks. The venue was in the Arts District, a converted warehouse with exposed brick and Edison lights. The kind of place that looked industrial and romantic at the same time. She'd always wanted to have an event there. I'd booked it 6 months ago, back when I thought we'd be celebrating together. I arrived early, before guests. Staff was still setting up, arranging tables, testing sound, putting out flowers. The venue manager saw me, her face brightening with recognition and maybe some nervousness. Mr. Mitchell, we weren't sure if you were still planning to attend after last night. I'm here, I said, and I'd like to make a few adjustments to the schedule. The toast, I'd like to give it right after dinner, before cake. Can we set up a microphone and put down the screen for a presentation? She took the flash drive I handed her. Should we check with the guest of honor? It's a surprise, I said, smiling the kind of smile that made her not ask more questions. Guests started arriving around 7. I watched from the bar as people filed in. Her friends first, the women who'd spent months planning this party without knowing who was really funding it. They looked nervous, whispering to each other. Then her work colleagues. Then, at 7:30 exactly, she arrived. Red dress, expensive, the kind that demands attention. She stood in the doorway expecting applause. When the moment passed and people started clapping, she relaxed into her role as the star of the evening. She didn't see me at first. I was standing at the back, partially hidden. Jessica saw me, though. Our eyes met across the room, and I saw her face crumple slightly before she looked away. Dinner was served at 8. 3 courses, each dish carefully chosen from the menu I'd selected months ago when I thought we'd be sharing this night. I sat alone at a back table and ate in silence while conversation flowed around me. Her friends kept glancing over, whispering. The tension was building. She noticed me during the main course. I watched as her gaze swept the venue, taking in the decorations, the guests, the elegant abundance of everything. Her eyes landed on me, and I saw the shock register, saw her mouth form my name, saw her stand up, hesitate, sit back down. The meal ended. Dessert plates were cleared. The venue manager dimmed the lights, brought out the microphone, gestured to me. I stood up. The room went quiet. People turned, trying to figure out who I was and why I was walking to the front. "Hi," I said into the microphone. My voice carried clearly. For those who don't know me, my name is Ryan Mitchell. I was in a relationship with the birthday girl for 4 years until 2 weeks ago. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. She'd gone pale. I'm not here to ruin anyone's evening or to be petty. I'm here because I paid for this party and I thought it was important that everyone knew the truth. The screen behind me flickered to life. First slide, a copy of the venue invoice, my name at the top, the amount paid, the date. 3 months ago. I booked this venue in July. Paid for everything you see tonight. The food, the bar, the music. I did it because I loved her. Because I wanted to give her the birthday she deserved. Next slide, receipts. Dozens of them. 4 years of dates, gifts, trips. These are receipts from our relationship. Not all of them, that would take all night, but enough to show a pattern. I was present, invested, committed. Her friends were staring at her now, questions forming on their faces. Next slide, a photograph of her from 2 weeks ago, looking happy and confident. 2 weeks ago, she told me her friends thought I wasn't impressive enough for her, that she should aim higher. And you know what? She was right to listen to them, because I wasn't giving her the full picture of who I was. Final slide, my company logo, and our recent press release. I'm co-founder and CEO of DataStream Solutions. We're a data analytics company currently valued at $43 million. We signed a licensing deal with a Fortune 500 company 6 months ago. We're looking at acquisition offers that would increase that valuation tenfold within the year. The room was completely silent. I never told her this because I wanted to build something real before announcing it. I wanted to be sure it wasn't just luck. And I was planning to tell her tonight, actually, as part of a birthday surprise. I was going to propose. I pulled the ring box from my pocket, held it up. But 2 weeks ago, she told me I wasn't enough. So instead of a proposal, you get a presentation. Instead of celebrating our future, you get the truth about our past. The truth is, I was impressive the whole time. I just didn't need to announce it to feel valuable. I set the microphone down, pocketed the ring, and walked toward the door. Behind me, chaos erupted. Voices rising, chairs scraping, someone crying. But I didn't look back. Jessica caught me in the parking lot, breathless from running. "Wait, please wait." I turned. She looked wrecked, mascara smeared. "I'm sorry for all of it." "It's done," I said quietly. "What happens now is up to her and all of you." She's devastated in there. "Good," I said. "Maybe now she knows what it feels like." I got in my car and drove away, leaving the party, the venue, the life I'd built with someone who'd never really seen me. And as I drove through the city with the night closing in, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, free. The next few days were a blur. My phone became unusable, notifications piling up so fast the screen never went dark. The story spread quickly. By Tuesday morning, the Forbes article went live. The Invisible CEO, how Ryan Mitchell built a $43 million company while everyone was looking the other way. The piece was thorough, balanced, unflinching. The writer had included everything, the relationship, the party, the revelation, but framed it as a case study in the cost of hiding yourself. The comments section exploded. Half thought I was justified, half thought I was cruel, and everyone had opinions. By 10 in the morning, we'd gotten 16 interview requests. By 11, 3 podcasts wanted me as a guest. By noon, my LinkedIn had 10,000 new connection requests, and DataStream's website had crashed from traffic. Marcus called. Dude, I don't know what happened, but my phone is blowing up with LinkedIn requests. They're looking at our company page, asking questions. Whatever you did, it's making waves. How do you want to handle this? He asked when I explained. Get us a publicist, I said. Someone who knows how to manage this kind of attention. And set up those acquisition meetings for next week. First meeting is Friday, Marcus said. Summit Capital wants to come here, see the operation, talk numbers. On Wednesday, I got a call from an unknown number. Mr. Mitchell, this is Dr. Patricia Hayes from Stanford Business School. We'd love to have you speak to our entrepreneurship class. The Forbes piece was extraordinary, and our students could learn a lot from your experience. Stanford, one of the top business schools in the world. A month ago, I'd been the forgettable boyfriend. Now, I was someone Stanford wanted teaching their students. That evening, Elena reached out, one of her work colleagues. Can we talk? There's something you need to know. We met the next day at my office. She was nervous but determined. I work with your ex, same department, marketing. I've known her for 3 years. She talks about you at work, little diminishing comments that seemed harmless individually, but added up. My boyfriend's not really ambitious. He's sweet but boring. She made you sound like an accessory she was settling for. Elena pulled out her phone, showed me message threads from the company's Slack. Taking my boyfriend to this restaurant I found. He's not really a foodie, but I'm trying to expand his horizons. Sometimes I feel like I'm dating a child. Below it, responses from colleagues, sympathetic comments. Girl, I've been there. You deserve someone on your level. There are dozens of these, Elena said, and maybe hundreds. Years of little put-downs painting you as someone who needed her to elevate him. We all believed it because she was so confident. It never occurred to us she might not actually know who you were. Why are you telling me this? Because at the party, when you showed those receipts, that press release, I realized she'd been lying. Not just to you, to all of us. And you deserve to know the full extent of it. She paused. Also said she filed a hostile workplace complaint yesterday. Claims people are treating her differently because of her personal life. That she's being judged unfairly. And what did HR say? Elena smiled grimly. They pulled Slack logs and email communications, meeting notes. Turns out she's been taking credit for work that wasn't hers for at least 18 months, presenting other people's ideas as her own in client meetings. They're probably going to let her go. Not because of the party, but because of the pattern of behavior they uncovered. She did this to herself. Friday arrived with the weight of significance. The acquisition meeting. Summit Capital sent their full team to evaluate DataStream. 8 people in expensive suits carrying the kind of confidence that comes from having 9-figure budgets to deploy. The lead partner was a woman named Margaret Lewis, mid-50s, sharp gray hair, eyes that saw through anything false. Mr. Mitchell, she said, shaking my hand firmly. Thank you for making time. We've been following your company with interest, and after the Forbes piece, that interest intensified significantly. We settled into the conference room. Before we start, Margaret said, I want to address the elephant. You've had a very public, personal situation. Some of my partners are concerned about stability, about whether you're in the right headspace to scale a company. Can you speak to that? I'd expected this. Yes, what happened in my personal life was the result of living in a narrative that wasn't true. I was hiding who I was, what I'd built, because I thought that's what maintaining a relationship required. When that narrative collapsed, it was painful in public, but it was also necessary because you can't build something great while pretending to be less than you are. I advanced the slide. I spent 2 years building this company in the shadows because I didn't want attention to corrupt what we were creating. That period is over. We're ready to be visible, ready to scale, ready to become what we've always had the potential to be. And you think you're ready to be the public face of a company that could be worth $500 million in 3 years? I don't think it. I know it. Because I've already done the hard part. Building something real without the benefit of attention or resources. Scaling it with those things is just execution. Something shifted in the room. Margaret's team exchanged glances, subtle nods. Show us the rest. We presented for 90 minutes, every metric, every projection, every piece of data, proving we weren't just a good story, but a good investment. When we finished, Margaret stood and walked to the window. You know what impressed me most about the Forbes article? It wasn't the party story. It was the detail about how you'd been profitable from year one, how you'd bootstrapped everything, taken no outside money. That's rare. That level of discipline tells me you're not just smart, you're strategic. So what do you think? Marcus asked. Margaret smiled. I think we're going to make you an offer, a significant one. We'll work up details over the weekend and have something formal by Tuesday. But I can tell you now we're looking at a valuation north of $100 million, with aggressive milestones that could double that within 18 months. There's one condition, she added. You need to be visible. Press conferences, thought leadership. The Forbes piece was a good start, but it can't be a one-off. You need to become someone people know, someone they trust. Can you do that? Yes, I said, I can do that. By Thursday, we closed the deal. Final number, $127 million, with performance milestones that could push it past $200 million within 2 years. Marcus and I both cried when we signed the papers. Not from sadness, but from disbelief that it was real. 2 years ago, we'd been coding in his garage. Now we were worth more money than either of us could fully comprehend. 3 weeks after the Forbes article, I stood backstage at a tech conference in San Francisco, waiting to give my first keynote speech to 2,000 people. My heart was attempting to escape through my throat. The stage manager's voice crackled through my earpiece. You're on in 3, Marcus texted. You've got this. Just tell them the truth. The truth, that seemed to be my currency now. I walked onto the stage and the lights were blinding. For the first 30 seconds, every instinct screamed to run. But then I started talking and muscle memory took over. I talked about building DataStream, about the decision to stay hidden, about the relationship that fell apart when truth collided with comfortable fiction. For 2 years, I said, pacing the stage, I lived 2 lives. The one everyone could see, carefully constructed to look ordinary and safe, and the one I was building in private, which was anything but safe. It was risky and ambitious, but I kept it hidden because I was afraid. And then something forced me to choose. Stay hidden and maintain a relationship built on false assumptions, or reveal everything and risk losing what I thought I wanted. I chose truth, and it cost me. But here's what I learned. The things you lose when you choose honesty are things that were never really yours to begin with. And what you gain, clarity, integrity, the freedom to be exactly who you are, that's worth more than any comfortable lie. The applause when I finished was thunderous. Afterward, a line of people waited to talk to me. Founders wanting advice, investors exploring opportunities, journalists asking for interviews. And standing at the back of the line was Jessica. She'd cut her hair short, dressed more casually than I'd ever seen her. Hi, I hope it's okay that I came. I wanted to hear what you've been building. It's fine. Did you enjoy the talk? It was incredible, honest and powerful. She shifted her weight. Can we talk for a few minutes? We found a quiet corner. I've been thinking about that conversation, she started. The one after the party, where I was trying to apologize. I realized I was still doing it wrong, still making it about my guilt instead of the actual damage. So I want to say this clearly. I'm sorry for creating the environment where she felt comfortable diminishing you, for reinforcing her worst instincts, for never asking you about your life, your dreams. We were all complicit in treating you like you were less than you were, and that was unforgivably wrong. And I want you to know, she continued, that I've been doing work, therapy, actual examination of why I participate in that kind of toxicity, why I think ranking people is appropriate. That's good, I said. Real work takes courage. She keeps texting me, Jessica admitted, asking me to help her get you back, to tell you she's changed. But I won't do it, because I don't think she has changed. I think she's just gotten better at performing remorse. How's she doing? I asked, surprising myself. Not great. She's struggling to find work. People in the industry know what happened. Her reputation is damaged. She's angry about it. Feels like she's being blackballed unfairly. But Ryan, she still doesn't really get it. She thinks the problem was getting caught, not what she did. Until she understands that fundamental difference, she's not going to change. Jessica left, and I sat there alone thinking about change versus performance, about the difference between the two. 6 months after the Forbes article, I stood in the lobby of a building I'd just purchased for DataStream's new headquarters. 200 employees now, offices opening in New York and Austin. Revenue projections that had seemed impossible a year ago. She showed up at my temporary office one afternoon, lost weight, hair pulled back severely, wearing a black dress that somehow diminished her. I'm sorry to ambush you, but you blocked my number and you won't return emails. I needed to see you. How did you find me? It's not exactly a secret. Forbes, TechCrunch, Bloomberg, you're everywhere now. It's like you became exactly what I said you weren't, except you already were, and I was too blind to see it. If you came for closure, I gave you that months ago. I know, but I didn't accept it. I kept thinking if I could explain, you'd give me another chance. She moved closer. But that's not why I'm here anymore. I'm here because I need to say something and then let you go. Really let you go. Okay. She took a breath. I've spent 6 months trying to understand what I did, not just to you, but to myself. How I became someone who measures people like commodities, who tears down the person she loves to feel better about her own insecurities. And I figured some of it out. I grew up being told I had to be exceptional to matter. So I learned to make myself look exceptional by making everyone else look ordinary. With you, it was easy because you were actively hiding how extraordinary you were. She wiped her eyes. But here's what I finally understand. Real worth doesn't require diminishing other people. Real confidence doesn't need constant validation. And real love doesn't measure. It just sees clearly and chooses anyway. I'm glad you're getting there, I said, but I'm not getting there fast enough. The person you'll be with someday will get the version of you that knows its worth, that doesn't hide, and they'll never have to do the work of helping you see yourself clearly because you already do. I had 4 years to see you, to ask questions, to build something real, and I squandered it. Worse than squandered it, I actively destroyed it. What are you saying? I'm saying I lost my chance. And now you're here building an empire, and I'm starting over, trying to figure out who I am when I'm not taking credit for other people's work. I hope you figure it out, I said. I really do. There's one more thing. I've been telling people the truth about who paid for what, about the company you were building while I was telling everyone you were mediocre. Correcting the record. It's the least I can do. Thank you. You know what the worst part is? I look at what you've built and realize I could have been part of this, but I was so busy being afraid of your potential that I never considered my own. That's something I'll have to live with. We both will, I said, but living with it gets easier. She nodded, smiled sadly, and left. That weekend, I drove up the coast, rented a house overlooking the ocean. Spent 2 days doing nothing, walking the beach, sitting on the deck watching the waves. Sunday morning, I woke before dawn and walked down to the beach. The sand was cold, the sky that particular purple gray that comes before sunrise. I thought about the last year, all the transformations, all the ways my life had changed from invisible to impossible to miss. The person I'd been when this started felt like someone I'd read about rather than actually been. My phone buzzed. Margaret from Summit Capital. Board wants to discuss international expansion. Preliminary conversations with partners in London and Singapore. You interested in building this thing global? Very interested, I typed back. The sun broke the horizon, and the whole world turned gold. I stood there, watching the light spread across the water, understanding that this was it. This was the life I'd built, by refusing to stay small, by choosing truth over comfort, by believing that being seen was worth the risk. Monday morning, I drove back to the city, thinking about what came next. London, Singapore, markets we'd only dreamed about accessing. The kind of growth that would require everything I'd learned about building with integrity. That night, standing in my apartment, with city lights spread below me, I thought about what I'd learned. That the hardest thing isn't building something extraordinary, it's believing you deserve to claim what you've built. That visibility isn't about everyone seeing you. It's about you stopping hiding from yourself. That the truth will always find its way to the surface. And when it does, you have to choose whether you'll stand in it. I chose truth. I chose myself. I chose to be exactly as impressive as I'd always been. The world adjusted.